And here we go. So who wants to dive in first today?
Well, mine was coming back, or the change of realities as you experience them. Because that last experience, it was a lucid, semi-lucid, out-of-body experience coming back and switching from one reality back into another one as it blended. That was a weird experience. But that'd be a change in frequency, wouldn't it? That'd be the frequency changing from the theta up into the beta and getting to experience that change as one reality became another reality. That was interesting. I suppose that would come under the frequency change, wouldn't it? But never experienced that before.
Well, what happened? Tell us about it.
That's when I started to, at the very end, I managed to ask the questions about, is this a dream? Is this a dream? And I said, I'm dreaming. It was so real. And then it just sort of started, I didn't wake up in the dream, but it just faded out and I faded into my room and became this reality. Just a fade in and out, but it was done very, very, very slowly. So I got to experience a reality change. Yeah, I don't know how to put that. It's interesting.
It's a blissful experience. There's nothing more pleasant. So what of the variegations as you're bleeding through were you able to observe? Just the sensation itself, or did you see other fields? What happened?
It was just a fade from, I describe it. I was in that reality. It was based on nerve-based reality. It's super real. I was really questioning it. Then it just faded. How did it feel? How did that feel? I'm trying to describe how that felt as it changed back into my room. Then realised it was a dream. But it was so real. The change in reality was so real. I didn't see in between it. It just like a fade. The one reality just sort of faded out of my awareness, and this one here.
I don't want to lead you, but I'm going to lead you. It was an earth-based reality that was very real. So real, you felt your physicality there. And on the fade from there to here, it felt like your physicality was fading from there to here.
That would be accurate, yeah. That would be accurate. It was just one real reality to another one. I've kept myself, and my reality's just changed. Both physically and super real.
Very different when it's the field that is changing or shifting, and when it's you, your physicality, the body that is dematerializing and then rematerializing. Can you identify which of these two experiences it was?
I'll try to think about that. I would say it was the realities dematerialized and rematerialized, not my physicality in that sense, if you put it that way. It's hard to describe. I was in one location, then I became aware in another one. It's just that both changed, I suppose.
Sounds to me like you brought your physicality. Okay.
It's only time I've ever experienced it. So.
When the environment shifts and changes, very different to when you are here and now you are there. When just the landscape goes black and a new landscape appears. Very different experiences. So what I'm going to suggest to you is to pay attention next time you're in the experience. Don't be in the bliss or the excitement of it so much that you fail to make critical observation. Okay, I know that that's easy to do. I do it a lot myself. But more and more, remember to observe and to notice and to bring back information to bring back new information you did not have before. Okay, that's going to keep making things go kerpow, you know.
Okay.
And that essentially is what in the experience is for.
Most of these are my first time. These are the first times me experiencing that. That's just the first time. So I've nothing to compare it with. No way to describe it. I'd have to do it a few times to come out of that difference.
Give us the layout of the land.
What do you mean?
Describe the experience. Where were you? What was happening? What were you doing? What was the point of you being there? What were you able to notice and observe?
Wow, I had to think back through it. It was a maze. It started off as it went into a maze dream, getting lost. And then it was I was cognition, and into a discussion about, I remember posting about that scientist. I was having a discussion with a scientist. This guy was a scientist, discussing reality, consciousness, and matter, and we were going through all that. And he was arguing with me about it, even though he did the experiments. And I was trying to to put reality to him beyond matter. This sort of thing was taking place. I think he was trying to provoke me, trying to get a rise out of me at some point. So I was trying to put this consciousness was reality to him. And even though on one hand he agreed, and yet on the other hand he was disagreeing with me and just winding me up, basically.
What would be the purpose of that?
I don't know, I usually just test my patience and my understanding of people when having an argument or debates about it. I won't say argument. I just see them as lessons and tests on my character, how I deal with people in these subjects, and how do I express myself, stuff like that. Trying to get a rise out of me, like you try.
I'm sorry. I was able to identify in my experiences one fundamental reason my inner helpers would create a rise in my emotional state. And that was to bring me more lucid. Let this sink in, not less.
I think because I was semi-lucid, I had cognition, but not full awareness into the experience, but this is semi. I was reacting to what was getting said.
Yes.
But I did three occasions through that experience question at reality. I did do the reality checks. I tested the physicality in my fingers. I put my fingers, see if it stretch or malleable, and it kept coming back real. And I kept questioning, this is a dream, and they kept pushing. So,
in real life, we tend to not go through the roof so much. Sometimes we do, but that's not our normal course of our daily experience here. And some of us don't express emotion outwardly much at all. I tend to be one of these people. So this is why in the dream state, me getting highly emotional is going to catch my attention. Something's different here. Something's wrong here. This is not how I usually am in reality. Oh. I'm in a dream field. Okay, so yes, this is one technique that's very often used to, one, raise energy, and two, raise awareness.
I think that was the point of the maze, because when it started to get in properly into being lost, I knew it was coming. I knew at that point I'm going to get lost, and it started to trigger my awareness that I'm heading into this maze scenario. So that's true enough. What you're saying, that's true enough.
So let's identify the maze now. What were you looking for that you couldn't find?
I was trying to get to work. I was trying to get to a job. And no matter how I tried, I was lost. I'd been in a different town. I was in the wrong bus. I was going the wrong way. And I kept on trying these different ways to get to this job. Just wasn't going to get there. That's how that one was. It seems to be the kind of common way. I'm trying to get to a location. They'll just block me and send me somewhere else. Yeah, so that's the main. Yeah.
Do you believe that night after night after night we fall for this?
Yeah, I'm starting to. I've heard it so many times now. I'm starting to recognise this is going to just about to happen, but I'm not enough to trigger. But I recognise it now. That's been on for the past 8 months or so, 9 months even, just repeatedly getting lost in places like that.
So our others must get a very big kick out of this. Yeah.
We must do.
Okay, so let's dive in. You were trying to get to work, and you couldn't get there. And what's happening in real time, in physical reality?
What do you mean in physical reality?
You don't work.
No, I don't work. No, obviously.
Yeah.
I was back in my old job and that. I was back in the security work, back in my past.
Okay, well just let it sink in. Let the data sink in. Because our dream fields are often fielding us information, you know, for our physical field life, you know, so you're trying to get to work and you can't get there. And in physical space, you're not currently working. So continue. We're just going to try to fit some puzzle pieces together. So you can see why this is what you're not being able to find. Often it's, you know,
Aye.
in the mazes, which is a dream in which we can't quite get to where we're going or find something that we're looking for and go around chasing tails. That's for the audience. The things that we can't find in these mazes, the places we're trying to get to in these mazes, are often something that's very important to us. So in my mazes, it was always my dog Charlie Brown that I couldn't find. You know, it's going to be something meaningful. So it's, a lot of people have these, you know, that they're looking for their children. They can't find their children, you know, so it's always going to be something important. Your purse, your wallet, your financial resources. You know, it's going to be something important to you. So what this maze would tell me is that work is important to me. And the fact that I can't get there is also going to be very informative, meaning I may not actually be doing the work I meant to be doing right now in physical space. You know, it's going to feed me information. Okay, so we've identified the maze. We've identified what you were looking for in the maze, what the feature of it was. And we've identified some content. And again, tell us what the content was.
The content was all about reality based on consciousness and matter not being matter. Dealing with a scientist, debating it, telepathy, and everything get brought up in dogs and birds, and it was a good discussion about it with this scientist. I can't mind his name now. I did post it on the thread, that's who he was.
So
He
the
does
science was coming
the
at
sign.
me from the idea of physical space, physicality only, this type of a scientist?
That was the frustrating part, because he was talking about reality beyond matter, that matter wasn't matter. And I was trying to get to him, wasn't that strange? It's consciousness. And he was like, nope. Even though he was saying it was, but he was contradicting himself, winding me up.
Okay.
Just provoking me into an argument, so it was.
Continue. Okay, continue. And your reply to him?
I started bringing up things like, we started talking about telepathy in dogs, how dogs can sense their owners coming back and birds sensing you coming back, and we get into that kind of discussion. And he's like, yeah, I've got experience with this, I do experiments like that. And I said, well, don't you think that's strange then, that could happen? He's like, nope. You don't think that was strange, or into question that there's telepathy going on in animals and all the rest of it? Minded me off again. Else we get into. I asked him to explain then, okay, explain my precognitive dreams then, because I've precognitive dreams. Could you explain that to me then, scientist? He just brushed me off and walked off at this point. He didn't respond to the precognition question. So, just stuff like that. Just trying to wind me up.
Yeah. Okay, so we have another element here. Yeah, he's not engaging you in any argument. He's walking off rather than making an argument with you, yes?
Yeah, he wouldn't respond to an explanation how that was possible.
How does that inform you? What kind of information does that give you? Are you somebody who generally will dive into an argument rather than walk away?
Again, yeah, now I'll have an argument about it, especially when people deny the experiences, and I've got a whole bunch of them. You got to explain these things to me then, because I've experienced these things in my life. And people just brush off realities. That just annoys me a tad. Yeah. I will get into a debate about it. To the deniers, anyway.
And then the most stunning feature of the experience was when you came into full conscious awareness within the shift.
Yeah, it was a shift between the two realities. Yeah, it slowed it right down till there's a fade out of one reality into my bedroom. It was so real, man. It was super real. And yeah, that was quite.
I want you to hear what you just said. Until I entered my bedroom, not until my bedroom appeared in front of me.
But
until I entered my bedroom.
Yeah, the awareness came back here. Yeah. That was just. I think it deliberately slowed it down, just to experience coming out of one reality, and awareness shifting into another reality of this one. and it was super real, you know.
Do you recall a sound?
No sounds. It was just a fade in, fade out. And then hearing that scientist's voice on the podcast that was playing as I was sleeping. I did post it up with Russell Brand and that. No sounds between the shift. It was just a fade out of reality into another one. What was that? No sounds, no other colours, no blackness. Just like a fade in, just blend it in. It's a blend. Yeah, no breaks. Just very, very slowly done.
Nice. How is that impacting you?
You never know what's real. It's honest. You don't know what reality is. You can't tell the difference. I think what my understanding of it is information is real no matter where you are. If your awareness is in that reality is absolutely real to you. You can't tell the difference. There's no difference in that information of reality. So that's what it means to me. An experience the reality of reality's information and how real it can be when you're experiencing it. It's just as real as this. I mean, it's no less real. It's just as real.
If you feel for your central nervous system, if you feel for your vital energy and taking in that information, is everything even? Is everything smooth? Is everything neutral? Is there any fear?
Fear, no. It was interesting. I actually applauded it. No, there's no fear. There's nothing scared me. No, it was good. It was a good experience.
Is there any confusion?
Confusion? No confusion.
It's okay that all realities are realities. All dream fields are dream fields.
Yeah.
There's no confusion in that. There's no confusing one for another.
No. No.
Okay. Then you may be ripe for experiences to be happening more regularly, because I'll tell you, when they start happening regularly, confusion can and does come in. You will find yourself having a certain threshold that you can reach where you're like, no more for a while, because I'm starting to not know where I am. Yeah. So
no, I'm the opposite. I want to go more. I want more.
Well, you say that. And the reason I'm asking you the questions that I'm asking you is because diving into your own mind, energy, body system is the way to bring those experiences more. Because when it is prepared, when you are prepared, they will start happening. So if they're not happening more, chances are your central nervous system, mind, energy, body system is not yet fully prepared. And diving into that preparation, again, speeds things up. Because you start addressing these things. You start spending more time being aware of exactly how you are feeling with certain ideas, with certain energies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If we just say we're ready and things aren't happening, well, got to do something. Got to dive in deeper. Something's there that we're still missing. Observation, noticing and bringing back new information is what this is all about. The more you cognize, the more you experience, and the more real that experience is.
Yeah. So I've got my dream stones. I've been doing a lot. Last discussion, I've got my dream stones. I've got the shamanic dream stone coming to work on getting the dreams more, getting the more cognition more. So I've started doing that, started making notes, started pushing to become more awareness with my experiences changing. So I'm pushing it myself in this, in the physical space. I'm pushing it. So we'll see what happens this month, because I'm really focused on it.
Keeping yourself available is important, and available for information to come to you in regard to how to increase the awareness. So for Anton, I've been speaking with everybody recently about a couple techniques that are really helping me right now. And one is the palm stones. I think we talked about that yesterday in the GD group. That's general discussion, not God. And yeah, so we're all working with palm stones. So when you sit to meditate or are engaged in any other particular practice, including the practice of laying down and going into what we call our sleep at night, holding on to the stone and keeping awareness with the fact that there's a stone in your hand, feeling the sensation of the stone in your hand, so that your conscious state of awareness comes with you into the additional fields. And so that those additional fields come more easily back with you into your conscious state of awareness here in physical space. And so it all fits together. It's such a simple and potent, powerful, highly yielding practice. Anyone can do it. At first, you'll notice that you forget the stone's there. The body relaxes. You drop the stone. You wake up in the morning and you're looking for it. But after a while, you get good at it, you know, and that stone stays in the palm of your hand. And as the brain waves are cycling through the, you know, sleep, dream, wake cycle, it will pass through beta. And every time you pass through beta, you feel for the stone, if you've forgotten in the fields anyway.
So I was learning about the subconscious being habitual. And if you can train your subconscious as a habit to cognize that stone, it should trigger it automatically without you really thinking about triggering it. It's just making it become a subconscious habit to trigger, isn't it? So it's something like that.
Sure, it definitely can be. That would be along the lines of synchronous states, holding that state there and this state here synchronously at the same time. That's rather what it does for me.
So I was just kind of forming a connection with this stone. As a dream stone, this is my dream stone. This will bring me awareness in my dream stone. I just keep holding that and keep putting that thought into that stone. So it's always continuously reminding my subconscious to give me awareness. So that's what I've been trying with this one, just to like a built-in affirmation continuously on my. I keep it all the time. It's not just sleeping; it's on my possession all the time, putting that thought into my mind continuously all day as I try and.
That too. It can't just be in your hand when you go about your daily activity, but I would suggest using a different stone for this. Use one stone that you're using specifically for meditation type practices, and your sleep time. Use another stone for just walking around during the day. Yeah, just as a reminder to keep yourself consciously aware and involved, actively involved in what you're doing, rather than absent-mindedly performing tasks and such. Yeah, and you don't have to hold it. It can be in the pocket, and you can just know it's in the pocket.
That's what
that's why they're called pocket stones and palm stones. Or you can.
I was bringing in the
wear them. I'll just finish that sentence. You can also wear them. Okay, and just occasionally reaching up and, you know, feeling them. Every stone has a real distinct feeling to it. And so before we go anywhere further or elsewhere than that, I want to talk about what stone you're using.
This one right now is an obsidian crystal, and I've got a shamanic dreamstone coming next few days. So I could use the obsidian as a constant reality checker. I was going to bring in the reality checks throughout my day. I've got wee notice up my walls, question my reality all the time at reality, man. Where am I? How did I get here? Sort of thing. With the stone to affirm awareness, and then use the other stone for dreaming, just for dreaming that one. Just have that'd be a crystal, the shamanic. I can't. There's not a name for it. They call it the shamanic dreamstone, a kind of orangey colour. I can't remember the name of the crystal other than that, but I was going to use that for the actual night time.
What is your connection to the obsidian crystal?
I don't know. It's always came to me, obsidian. Everything I've got obsidian, everything's black. I don't know. I like the blackness and then the voidness of it. I don't know. It's something that came to me. I don't know how I got to obsidian, but it's just something that's always just really liked it. I like that jet black feel to it. It's like.
Anton, would you like to join us with the palm stones, that practice? And remember, you don't have to bring your face real close to your microphone. We can hear you fine. Yeah, we can hear you fine from there. Did you want to join us in practice with the palm stone?
I'm going to have to find a good stone and do that. That sounds like an interesting technique to try. My crystal, the round crystal, is too big for that, and I don't want to drop it and break it. So I'll look. And next time I'm on the river, I think I'll just try to find a real pretty stone and keep it with me. It doesn't have significance to me. But the technique sounds valid because, you know, like I was telling you before, when my cat, you know, 2 cats back, I had a cat would sleep right next to my heart all the time. And that was a real cue. You know, I said I had my cat in my dreams all the time. Well, that's why, because it was a tactile connection. And that also helped me, you know, so I could see how it would work. You know, it's kind of the same thing as using the stone. Having that tactile connection to remind you, even though you're not quite, you know, waking up to it or anything.
Yes, the cat can get up and go, but the stone can't. And so, yeah, that's a bit more of a, can't think of the word I want to use. It just gets me every time that happens. But yeah, you can use anything too. It does not have to be a stone. It's just a small object that fits into the palm of your hand. Something that's meaningful to you is always going to work best. We easily give our attention to things that mean something to us. You know.
Should it be smooth or jagged? Doesn't really matter.
Either one, it's completely up to you. Mine is sort of, mine is faceted and rough. It's not polished or smooth.
I've got a big piece of obsidian up north like that, but it's too big to use for that.
Yeah, palm
stone.
Huge. Yeah. A palm stone will fit nicely right in the center of your palm. Yeah, just a small stone. Mine's about 1.5 inches long and maybe 1 inch wide. You know, it fits real nice right there in the palm of my hand. And I'm using azurite because I have a very strong connection with azurite. And that's a seer's stone. And I have lifetime recall from when I have used this stone for these types of purposes, and I'm simply recontinuing it here. So this is why this particular stone will work, it is working much better for me than other type palm stones.
Connection to it.
Connected to it, very, very connected to it. And specifically the lifetime that is very strongly connecting with me is an Atlantean lifetime, in which I worked very strongly with this crystal and wore always an azurite headdress.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what about what's the thing with obsidian? What's good about obsidian, in your point of view with the crystals? What's its significance?
Any of the black stones are going to deflect negative energies.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm always attracted to it very much so. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so there we go. Anton's going to come in on the practice with us. Next time you meet with us, have your palm stone.
Okay.
We'll go into what you chose and why you chose it. What next?
The only subject I had in my mind is a little bit about pranayama. You're really into it, and I've always been kind of out of it. I know we talked about this years ago. But But you know, I guess I want to hear more about what you want to say about it, and maybe one or two of your little techniques. My hang up with in the way I learned, they were kind of against pranayama because it kind of attaches you to your body. If you're trying to project out of your body, but you're focusing on your body, it seems to be a conflict. And of course, I've read some of the astral traveler people, they're talking about using their breath to actually exhale themselves out of their bodies. So I don't know, just some thoughts on that might be interesting to hear from you, or maybe one or two little short techniques too.
Okay, so the breath is not the body. The breath is the breath. This is your vital energy system. It's what animates the body. So
Right.
you're bringing attention in from the outside physical part of yourself inside to the breath. Okay, the breath is very distinct from your body. The breath is not your head, it's not your knee, it's not your nose. The breath is the breath, just like the mind is the mind. Okay, so these are very distinct components of your physical being, but not your physicality itself. I'm somebody who brings my physical self with me. So not everybody is. I can be aware of myself in multiple locations, including here at the same time. So I can hold the synchronous states. What lets me do that? What connects the bodies?
Well,
The vital energy system is what holds the particles of what we call bodies together. So of course that's going to link all the bodies. It's going to link all the locations. Not it just in itself, but it plays a vital role. It plays a vital role also in processing and running energies in a way that's complementary to the wider awareness. So for instance, when fear starts coming in with most people jump themselves right out of the experience. Whereas I can feel fear coming in well prior to it arriving, and I can jump on that with the breath. I can start taking long, deep breaths. I can mentally command myself in these long, deep breaths to relax. So there's a lot I can do before the fear actually gets there, and that will keep me in the experiences much longer. So you use the breath in this fashion in a variety of ways. One of them is, as you have just mentioned, vacating the body through the bottom of the breath. Right there at the bottom of the breath is a doorway from this world into the spirit world, into the dream fields, into the akasha, whatever you want to call it. The wider awareness, the larger consciousness system. When you exhale and exhale all the way, what do we call this?
Deep exhale.
Breathing out.
We call it death. You take your last breath, and your last breath flows all the way out, and there's no more out breath, and there's not another in one coming. That this is what we call death. And the reason that I find that fitting is because right there at the bottom of the breath is the doorway from one world into another world. It's not death that you're going to experience there. It's like walking through a door, you know. When you're inside the house, you're not alive, and the outside of the house dead. You're just outside the house. Right? Same way when we exhale all the way and don't inhale again, we're not in this physical space. We're in another space. It's not death. We're just somewhere else.
So what would you do? So you're pushing all the breath out, then hold it. Just try not breathe in and see if you can push your awareness out with it or something like that.
Let's start here. there's 4 phases to the breathing cycle. There's the, as we know it here in physical space, there's the inhale, there's a retention there at the top of the breath, or potential retention there at the top of the breath. There's an exhalation, and there's a suspension at the bottom of the breath. These are the 4 phases of the breathing cycle. And when you begin to practice pranayama, you begin to bring your awareness more fully into these phases of the breathing cycle. Then you're going to begin to play with them, work with them, become familiar with them, experience what happens there in them. For instance, when you inhale, what do you associate the inhale with? If you take a deep breath into the body, what happens?
Well, the pranayama technique I do use is for healing. And in that technique, I inhale white, bright energy, and I exhale dark, deep energy. You know, I kind of like inhale purity, and I kind of exhale corruption. You know, that's kind of the mental thing I do with, and I use that as a healing exercise, you know, and that's about all I really
We're jumping ahead. We're jumping ahead. Before we go on with any kind of mechanism we're going to work, I want you to take a deep, full breath in and tell me how it feels. What happens when you remember to pay attention to your inhale and you take a nice big inhale?
Well, you feel the oxygen.
You feel the energy. Of course.
Excellent.
That's how you're going to energize the body. That's how you're going to bring yourself more to life. Yes? So that's what the inhale does. It brings you more into the world you're experiencing. It gives you the energy to animate yourself in this field. And that's what the inhale is all about. If you exhale, I want you to take a deep breath in and then exhale. And exhale as far out as you can go. And tell me what the exhale is.
Letting go, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly. You nailed it. It's letting go of the right here, right now. You're flowing deeper into yourself on the exhale. So the inhale brings you more out into the world. The exhale brings you deeper into the self. Okay, and this is the same thing that the heart is doing, and it's activity. Okay, every aspect of our physical world functions on this format. The part of the breath that most people are the least familiar with is the bottom of the exhale. Because again, what do we associate breathing out and not breathing back in with? If you were just going out, 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 out with the breath, what would happen?
Die, I suppose. Of course, COPD's got the opposite, where people can't go the other way.
You'd go out of this body. Come on now, fellas. You'd go out of this body and into another body. You wouldn't die. Nobody dies. We know that more than anybody else, right? When the breath goes out, 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 what's right there with the breath? Your consciousness is just riding the out breath, out, 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 out of this world. But most people will get scared before that happens. But right there at the bottom of the breath, there's the doorway. Can you go through it? Absolutely. Can you go through it in full conscious awareness? Absolutely. Have I done this repeatedly, again and again and again, and not died? I have. It's how I began going out. And you're never going out on your own. Your own larger consciousness is always right there with you. And your own larger consciousness will keep the body animated. Automatic breathing, the body is intelligent. It doesn't need you to keep breathing. It won't animate itself indefinitely without your occupancy. You know, it will go on to its next new adventure, but it can for a period of time. So you don't have to worry about not making it back before the body dies. That was one of my initial concerns.
So is that what's going on in your mind to push that out? Is you fully intending to actually leave or go out your consciousness as you out breath and hold it? Are you intending to go out? Is that what's going on in the mind as you're doing that breath? To intentionally
It wasn't when it first began, no. It's just what began happening. I practiced and taught pranayama breathing classes. And in my own practices, just like in our own meditation practices, that's just what began happening. I was more and more curious about that space there at the bottom of the breath because I could feel the doorway. I could feel the space on the other side. I could hang out down there for extended periods of time, you know, and the thought always is what is this? You know, it's another space. You're very aware that it's another space, and your first question, as always, is, what is this? Where am I? Yeah, so that's how it begins happening. As far as breathing techniques that I would suggest to a beginner is simply learning to take a deeper, fuller inhale, a deeper, fuller exhale. And so bringing awareness into the top and the bottom of the breath. Most people just don't pay any attention to their breathing whatsoever. But when you start paying attention to your breathing, this is the first practice. Just breathe in, just breathe out, and keep your awareness with the breath. After a few breaths, make your observations. Wow, I'm not breathing in very long or out very long, and wow, my inhale seems to be a little longer than my exhale, or vice versa. Or, you know, make your observations. And then with those observations, see if anything has changed simply by you making those observations. And that's how you follow the breath.
I've just been doing the energy practice, the kind of qigong energy breaths, just slow in through the nose into my belly very slowly. But I get increasing energy in my head and my hands. That's what's going on with me, and I'm doing my breath like that, slow and deep through the nose. But it's energy. I feel I start buzzing. But I've never tried to actually push out through the breath like that. That's what I was asking. Quite interesting.
You don't want to push out through the breath. I mean, you don't want to push the breath out. You want to put your awareness with the breath and begin to ride. And at first, you don't want to make it do anything in particular. And also, at the end, you don't want to make it do anything in particular. In the middle, you may do practices, you know, to take different rides and see what they're like. But the more advanced way to go about it is simply through pure observation. I'm going to put my awareness with the breath, and I'm just going to inhale and exhale as I have been. I'm not going to try to do anything different. You don't want to invoke a change. What you want to do is get good at making observation. You want to increase your staying power. So how long can I keep my awareness with the breath before all of a sudden I've forgotten I was doing that? You know, so you want to increase your staying power, awareness with the breath. And you don't want to lie to yourself. Again, you don't want to change things. You want to notice how things are right now. And then in noticing, watch. Just the noticing, just the observation will have invoked a change. You don't have to invoke the change. You want to get your will out of this. Okay, you just want to go for the ride. You want to increase the staying power. Yes, more energy because your awareness is with the breath, and that means with your energy, your vital energy system. Yes, you're going to start feeling more energies. Observe what these energies are. They'll all be very distinct as individual people are, these energies are. Yeah, and you'll be more apt to identify them. You'll be able to identify them when you're speaking with other people. You'll know the energies that are there. And you'll know how to shift energies when you see that someone has gotten themselves into trouble with an energy they may have become addicted to or attached to, or just, unaware of, wholly unaware of. Yeah. So now you'll be able to do things with this breath. You'll be able to assist people, in the field here with you with it. Yeah, so there's a lot we can do with it. But mostly we just want to put the awareness with the breath and ride. Observing, noticing, and notice the changes that occur with your noticing, with your observations. Everything's going to shift, and as things continue to shift, you're already going out, but you're in a shift. Most people can't maintain awareness and cognitive faculties in a shift, meaning observation, noticing skills, but you get better and better at this. Why would this even be important? It's important because we're actually never in a singular landing location. There are so many places and so many points on the field simultaneously all at once. Everything is a shift. The shift of your awareness from one point to include more of your awareness at another point, it's all a shift. It looks like we're right here where we are, but right now we're not, and we never are. We're in a shift. And we witness this shifting gradually through our own lifetime as aging. Things like this. We just witness it in uber slow motion linearly rather than in the moment, in the now, is always occurring. But if we did come into that moment, we would notice that we did not age as much because that moment, this moment, is outside time. So speaking of health, what better way to come into the intelligent and always activated energy of your system than this? There is no illness. That's man-made. There are no attachments. That's man-made. In the moment, there is just the moment and a pure point of observation. It's neutral, it's pure, it's peaceful, it's loving, it's intelligent. And that's why we want to get in there, because that's what we are. Can you find this through the breath? The breath is your most easiest access to it.
Making me think of Tom Campbell a little bit. Because Tom Campbell was talking about that, having your dual consciousness to some degree, or not, or trying to concentrate more of your consciousness. That's kind of what I was interested in listening to James talking. It's not like he was 100% in one experience and then 100% in the other experience. It wasn't like he had a lot of drag between them. It wasn't like he had a dual consciousness between them. He just shifted. I kind of admire that. So.
Yeah. That's the first time I experienced that. It was so slow. I got to experience just the fade between the two of them as one reality just changed. Yeah, just going right out slow motion. It was something.
I'll tell
Yeah.
you, the
Well,
shift is the amazing part. Yeah, the landing locations, as incredible as they are nothing compared to being in the shifts. Yeah.
Well, the other odd thing that I know this happens to a lot of people, and it hasn't happened to me a while back. You know, it's happened to me more than once. But a few years ago, I had a really, I would say bad, you know, putting a word on it, experience of false awakenings. You know, have you ever had chains of false awakenings where you're awake and you think you're awake and trying to recall your dream and all that stuff, and then you realize that you're still dreaming, and then you wake up, and then you go about it, you're starting to get ready, and then you realize that was a dream too, and it's like 3 or 4 layers of this, and it's like, oh my God, I'm going nuts. It's been a while since I had one of those, but that's a really strange experience. You know, wake up like 4 times in a row, just bam, bam, bam. It's like, oh, I'm awake now. No, no, you're not awake now. No, I wasn't awake then either.
Yes, I have. And I shifted them into what I called the etheric drills after a while, because I was able to, in the false awakening, realize that I was not in physical space yet and could have the out-of-body experience there until I lost consciousness and found myself in a new field, again, which I might have taken as my physical space, but again, in which I was able to cognize that I was not. So I was able to turn the false awakenings into the etheric drills, where I'm more aware than unaware, more in an out-of-body state than in a false awakening. So you can play with these. Yeah, if you're tired of that happening, yeah, and you want it to become something more, if you want to, you know, take that bull by the horn, so to speak, and make it into more of an OBE, a conscious OBE, then you can do something like I did. Yeah. Or you can just ride those until you get back into physical space. But are you actually in your physical space? Why do we, this is a good question. Why do we even take those environments as our physical space? Because a lot of times they're not our earth life space. Like, we're not in the bedroom that we have now, but we feel like we are, you know. If you come aware in those environments, a lot of times you'll see this is not even the earth, you know, this is not even my physical space. I was just thinking it was. So why was I thinking it was? Because that's another lifetime. If you look down at yourself or go look at yourself in the mirror, you may be somebody else, or you may be another version of yourself that looks slightly different. Yeah, fascinating, fun.
Yeah, I've had a few experiences like that recently. The past few months, I've become the consciousness of another me incarnated, and being the consciousness that it's me, but it's someone else on the planet and on different locations. But yeah, I got to experience that about 5 times or so. I've did that.
Was the other you another James?
Yeah, I get the impression these are other incarnations of my being. There's more parts of my being incarnated at this planet at any given time. There's at least 5 of us.
Did he look like
no, no me.
Okay. Have you ever in an experience met somebody another you, meaning another James? He looks just like that James that I'm looking at right now. Or Anton, have you ever met another of you in this way?
No, nothing like that. No, nothing like that.
Okay, I'll tell you, that's freaky. That's freaky. When I started going out of body, that was one of the major experiences that would happen right back before I got into my physical space. Another me would be there with me, in the etheric version of my room and interacting with me. And my response to seeing another me that looked just like me was interesting. I used to beat the crap out of them. I would kick them, I would punch them, I would, to this day, I have no idea why that was my response to that. It was definitely a fear response, you know, a portion of why is coming to me right now as I'm saying this, but yeah, fear. But yeah, the feeling of that, the experience of that is, yeah, really, really freaky. And it happened over and over and over again for a period of like 3-4 months. Yeah, I don't know why that has to happen. Specifically, to get through fears, you know, generally. Yeah. And I got to the point where I didn't beat them up anymore. The last one who came, I remember clearly because she came bearing a peace offering, which was a bag of Doritos. She was handing me a bag of Doritos. When I was younger, I used to love to suck the cheese off of Doritos and throw the chips away. So that was her peace offering. Who knows about these things? Okay, somebody was going another way with that when I cut you off because I got curious. Dive back in.
Lost it.
Who are the other yous that would come? They were other lifetimes, not this lifetime, other versions of this. When I say parallel lifetimes, I mean other Casey, other Casey timelines where I look a little bit different and did different things. You know, I don't mean additional lifetimes and other body forms. I wouldn't call those parallel lifetimes. I would call those additional lifetimes.
The impression I got with these experiences is that my larger self has multiple incarnations. There's multiple incarnations here of me, at least 5 different parts of my being, one being incarnated, and I've got to experience pieces, given that experiences of lives.
Are you meaning that there are 5 more here on this planet, or?
Yeah. 5 more here at this time right now, and I get to experience who they are. There's 2 in Europe, and there's one, I think it's Arizona. I get Arizona for that last one, around about Europe or so, and the one in America that I've managed to find so far, yeah, and got to experience who they were, just for a little few minutes. Got to be their consciousness.
Do you know any of them, and are any of them like well known?
I don't know. That the first experience, this one was really famous. I think it was Monaco, very, very rich. I don't know who it is, though. I never got to see who it was, any reflections, so I don't know. I never got that impression. Mm-hmm. No, 2 in Europe are quite rich because they were very posh places I was in, posh hotels and stuff like that. I was sitting in very glamorous places in Europe. The last experience, this guy was an event hoster or something. He was hosting events. He brings events in, something like that. I don't know, but I never got to really see or identify who they were.
Yeah, interesting. What about you, Alan?
Nothing like that really. I can think of. I mean, in my daydream experience is the closest thing I can think of that, and I never really believed in parallel realities, you know, of this reality being paralleled up, but I kind of wonder because I get these, you know, the daydream experiences sometimes are kind of like that. You know, I'm drifting off and I'm with some other person, you know, we're doing something or having a conversation, then all of a sudden I'm snap right out of it again. I'm still doing what I was doing physical. So, you know, maybe those are parallel realities. But I also have some of those where they're just obscene. They're not obscene, absurd. I mean, the details are all like turned around from my real life experience. I'll be doing a daydream, and the things that happen in the daydream are just kind of like turned around. I don't know, in an absurd way, kind of, you know. And that's kind of what wakes me up out of it sometimes. I'm like, oh, what? So I don't know what to do with that, but it's kind of like the most interesting thing I've been dealing with because it's, you know, you're fully awake, but you're not. not sleeping. Daydream's like a real interesting area for me.
But have you ever entertained the idea that your animating soul, the soul portion of yourself, was actually incarnate here on the planet in other bodies? And at the same time that yours is here, like now, they're here in the year 2019?
You mean lives in different timelines?
No, this timeline, right here. The year 2019, is your soul occupying any other bodies here on the planet right now?
Physical bodies, I don't think so. You know, maybe there is another astral body. You know, maybe I do have more than one astral body or something like that. You know, I think if there's duplication, it's probably in the astral. It's probably not in the physical.
But not in the physical. Okay. So yeah, mine is also. And interestingly enough, I feel that one of them, who's not currently still with us on the planet, is Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin.
I love Janis. She's my childhood hero. Not quite a great model for a childhood hero, but I just loved her grit, you know, her energy, her power, you know, her spunk.
It's possible that hers was a template I researched prior to coming to the planet, or it could be that, yes, that soul is, yeah, me also. Yeah. Same soul, different bodies. I'm not sure which one it, you know, to be sure is to be limited. So I'm
possibly sure about anything, really, isn't it?
I'm content entertaining the possibilities and probabilities.
And the law of one says we're all one anyway. So, you know, maybe people are analyzing things too far when they think they got all these parallel realities. Maybe you're just tuning into other people, basically, you know, other aspects of the one, you know.
Well, the one that is being everyone, before it's our ground level persons, it's our soul level selves. And the soul is not one. The same universal consciousness is being all those souls, but all of those souls are very discrete. They're different. And the soul that's there being you and the soul that's here being me are not the same soul.
That's a big intellectual wrestling, and you hear a lot of different opinions from a lot of different people, you know. And
not on soul. I've never heard anybody say there's only one soul occupying all the bodies here on the planet. That would be incorrect. That would be absolutely incorrect. And although I like to say I don't like to be sure of anything, I experience in the out-of-body state other souls. So I can say my experience is telling me that souls are distinct from one another. It's the same, again, universal consciousness that's being all of those souls. But if all the souls were the same, there would be no difference. Everything would be very autonomous. Everything would be very much the same. But things are different. They're made fractal for a purpose. So what would be the sense in coming into a fractal form that wasn't actually fractal?
Well, just play things to the mind, you know, of I don't really believe that, you know, there's one soul either, but, you know, there's other possibility, the universal mind idea, you know, there's only really one mind.
Well, that's universal consciousness. Yes. Universal, just to come out of the spectrum of mind, because mind is the spectrum of soul. And so to come into an understanding that there's something larger than mind, something larger than the soul, I feel is important.
I just stick to Tom Campbell's model. That's the first model I learned about the larger consciousness partitioned into the IUC, the individuated pieces, and you're just experiencing yourself as an individuated unit, but you're part of that big whole, the one. we are experiencing individuality though, all the way up to us higher selves, you might call it the higher self, the soul. But individuated souls, we're connected in one being sort of thing. But
model
we
is
do
not new. Tom's model is very ancient.
Aye, and his net one, I think Ted was spoken about it.
Tom
Yeah.
words. So yeah, and he changed them to more scientific like terms broken down into the acronyms that he has. The individuated unit of consciousness is the soul.
Yeah.
Free will awareness units, that's our ground level selves, our galactic counterparts that are living on planetary bodies, and ourselves here that can't escape our own planetary body, our free will awareness unit. So he just changed the words, but the structure that he's using, of course, is a very commonly used structure.
Yeah, so you understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good to change the words for different groups of people who understand conceptual ideas better this way than this way. You know, scientists and scientific-minded people tend to not like to use spiritual terms like the soul. So if they can grasp the concept easier by saying individuated unit of consciousness, wonderful.
Yeah, I like looking at the different models and not really taking any of them as gospel. You know, it's interesting to explore different models of reality that different people have, and to realize that all of them are flawed. You know, we'll probably never have there is no perfect teaching. You know, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
not like Buddhism.
Flawed is doesn't come into the equation. These are the models are patterns, and it's like glasses. So it's not flawed when you put on one pair of glasses over another, and it's not flawed when you take off those glasses and put on another pair of glasses and see what it's like to see through the world through that way. They're all absolutely accurate in and of themselves, in that they are potential ways in which you can have an experience. You know, there's not one right and there's not any that are wrong. They are all potentialities. And they're patterns. So I would say the most advanced that we could get in this is to get to the point where we're able to set down our own pattern and try on the pattern of another to see what it's like to experience in that way. Nothing wrong in that, nothing right in that. It's just something that you can do if you want to. And is it fascinating to experience all the different patterns? Yeah.
Yeah, different expressions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Different expressions, yeah.
Kerpow. You're like, whoa, yeah, like really like the way the person did this. Look at how that makes that look, you know, and that would mean this, and then I would have to change my meaning of what I have when I do this, and you know, all kinds of things. It makes you more malleable. And right now, that's what the one infinite being is doing through all of us.
Kind of tasting the porridge and finding the one that's just right for you.
For a period of time, yeah.
I think of my friend with a real simple Christianity belief structure, you know, where anything on the outside is evil. He tells me that anything's a demon. It's either an angel or a demon. That's all there is. You know, it's an angel or it's a demon. I have the total opposite perspective. I think that someone on the other side is just like a man on the street. You know, he's just as likely to be good as he is evil, and I can't just take it at face value that because he's a channeled guy that he's great. You know, it's another guy off the street for me. You know, people I meet on the other side, or if I meet him on the street here, I don't really treat him differently in my mind. whereas to my friend, they're either an angel or a demon, you know. And you're talking to demons, you're associating with demons if you do this stuff, blah, 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 blah. So in, you know, a real simple structure of his whole belief system, you know, you do good acts and then you get judged and, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's it. You know, it's real simple.
Now that's not the pattern. That's not a pattern itself. It's the way particular people will put their own
belief system,
thought processes into a pattern. But the pattern would be more like, it'll be geometric. So it's comprised of numbers. For instance, you know, those that can see dimensions 1, 2, and 3 as being within a harmonic or sphere of 3D physicality. You know, those who can see a spectrum of 7, you know, gradients that we grow and graduate through each of the layers with. So these are those that can see that there's a personality point, there is a soul point, and there's a universal consciousness point. You know, those are patterns, but some people see it differently. You know, they see spectrums of 9, not 7. They see spectrums of 12, you know, and, you know, 5. So like people pattern the reality itself very differently, you know, and again, no right or wrong. There's just what you can potentially experience. Some people only go into the experience of one and say, well, this is it. Even while others are saying, I have a different pattern. This guy over here is very apt to say, this guy's is wrong. Because I'm in this one. But yeah, you could put down that pattern if you want to and try on that pattern. Most people can't get there though. Yeah, but it's fascinating. I'll put down my pattern in a second to try on your pattern. Give it to me. What's your pattern?
I don't even know myself.
Yeah, and mapping these things out for yourself, you know, or just observing. I mean, because certain observations have already been made through humans and humanity through the years, and you know, those are already, we came in, they're in our template. They're there for us to access at any time, such as the very basic universal consciousness, soul point, and personality point. Yeah, that's a pattern. And in your experience,
My first wake up experience, I got to experience free knees, free parts, existing free parts. 3 main parts anyway. So that's what I got. I got 3 parts, 3 levels or 3 layers. I got
personality point, yes.
Yeah, 3 parts.
Yeah. And there's names that you can give these, and because we don't give them the same names doesn't mean we're talking about something different. You know, many people would call the universal consciousness point simply the field. I call it the field. I call all the points the fields. Yeah, this is a field. The field of awareness. Yeah. The soul consciousness, that's a field of awareness. The universal consciousness, that's a field of awareness. I'm using the word awareness synchronous to consciousness here at this moment.
Yeah.
We can discern them if we want to too. So all different kinds of ways to play with the ideas and the points and the patterns. It's fun. And it's important, it's really important not to get so into our own, so serious about our own that we get to the point where we're saying this is how it is and it ain't no other way.
Yeah, I think that'd be impossible. There's so much getting expressed about that.
Because at that point you put yourself right back into a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what I think religion does to a lot of people, is boxes them up pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good book, right? Is how that box comes. This book, not this book. Yeah.
I really respect Buddhism, you know, as maybe the ultimate unreligion, but I see other people get into it and they get into all the trappings and all the dogma that, you know, isn't really part of it. It shouldn't even really, to me, it shouldn't even be there. You know, it's Like people get involved with all the trappings and the this and that and the history and all that, and it's like they're throwing out the bathwater. I don't know how to have a good analogy here, but it's like the basic idea of it, the stuff that's common to the Ra message. You know, if you look at Buddhism, you look at Ra. That's what I was talking about. The guy suggested a mental blank here. Anyway, he's really good at comparing Buddhism and the message from Ra. You know, and they're really, really in sync if you get to it. And it's that core message, that core part that is in sync is what's important to me. I care less about the different, you know, names and things and do this and that at the temple and get swatted, you know, by the master and all this stuff. You know, it's like, I can throw all that out. You know, I don't need to shave my head or sit in a monastery for 20 years. You know, I don't think that's the key of it.
These are things that, again, people add to the fundamental pattern. And yes, that stuff is superfluous, but it's distinct from the pattern. So the person that originally had the pattern, if those who wrote about it would have had a deeper awareness of the pattern, they would have emphasized it more. Yeah, often through the years, language changes, thought patterns alter. So in the time that the original Bible was written, the language of the people on the planet, especially in the area of the planet in which it was written, just was what it was. Yeah, and those people likely very much understood, you know, without so much, you know, adding of their own mental constructs. But yeah, through the years, as things get popular, they become more convoluted, and, you know, a new structure needs to arise. So it's not that one was any better than the other. It's that one had its time, and then another had its time, and then another has its time. Yeah, in which it can, you know, appeal to the people that are present, you know, on the planet at that time. And notably in certain areas, because of course, the way a person's mind works in one area of the world is going to be very different, very unique from the way a person's mind works in another area of the planet. We here in the United States think very differently than perhaps the people of Afghanistan. The people of Afghanistan probably think very different than the people of Alaska. I wanted to say where the Eskimos were, Antarctica. You know, and you know, and so everything has its audience and its time, and its audience is not necessarily for everyone. Buddhism is not for everyone. A lot of people can't get to exemplify an idea of emptiness, you know, that to them is not going to work. Because clearly, to them, this is not so. Yeah, and so they're going to have to start with a different structure. And so we need to have structures and patterns enough for everyone, you know, and enough for everyone to grow out beyond, you know, their own thinking mind construct. Yeah, which is the whole point of them.
Yeah, and it's some people just want to grab onto the details and not get into the core. I want the core, and I really don't give a damn about the details.
Now you're
like the friend who got into Buddhism and got all the details and all the arguments and all the thoughts, you know, and never really got to the core of it. And I talked to her about, you know, the metaphysics, or started talking about the metaphysics of it, of Eastern thought and stuff. And she didn't want any part of that. And, oh, no, I don't want to deal with, you know, Tibetan, you know, they're too metaphysical. Well, you know, metaphysics to me is the whole of it. You know, that's the only thing that really does matter. Whereas, and that's why I kind of reject Christianity, because the metaphysics are so convoluted. I mean, they're they're simple, but they're turned around and conflicting each other. They don't really make sense to me.
The core isn't convoluted at all. The core is one thing. What is the core of the biblical structure?
Well, it's subscribe and you'll be saved, you know?
No. We're not talking about other people's interpretations and how convoluted it got. We're trying to look at its core. In the beginning was the sound, and the sound is the word. Even I know that, and I've never read any Bible. In the beginning was the sound, and the sound was the word. And love, of course. So those are the core elements of that structure. And if the core would not have, as you say, over the years become convoluted by people's interpretations and agendas, you know, on the planet, then, you know, it would still exist in its original format.
Well, you ask the average Christian, he'll say the word is the Bible.
Yeah.
And so the Bible didn't exist before at that time. How could that have happened?
No, yeah. So yeah, getting to the basis of a thing is always best, and it helps us not go into judgment, and it helps us know and be able to disseminate the information that these structures at their core are all the same. And when you learn the language of one, you, at a certain point, to graduate out beyond this, you have to set it down in order to learn the language of another, so that you can rightly understand it and stop saying that it's saying something opposite of what you are, because they're not. So I'm a Yana. I'm a Yani. I'm the complement and opposite of Tantra. And so during my learning phase, I had to, at a certain point, in order to get any further, set down Yana to learn the Tantra language. Doing that gave me what I call the secret decoder ring. Once I did that, I could see not only that we were saying the same thing, but that all of the structures were saying the same thing. And I began to learn other languages of the Buddhists, of Tom, the way other people say things. The Druids came into mind, and the elements, you know. So, yeah, and once you have the secret decoder ring, you're free.
Yeah. I've always been interested.
Anything personally anymore. You don't take anything personally. You have nothing to protect. You have nothing to defend. It's all my God saying the same thing. Yeah, and yeah, not a lot of people letting themselves get there. And so how can we help that happen? We can get there ourselves.
Yeah, it doesn't upset me when people believe different things. I am kind of the guy who will try to pick at them, though, you know. I'll try to get them to doubt or to think differently about something, you know, more expandedly about something.
Yeah. Another way to come about that is having become aware of all of the energy states within yourself, and being able to identify the energy state that other people are in, literally be able to shift that simply by being there in their presence. You can, again, everything changes by your pure observation. So when you come into the fuller awareness of what all of the patterns are at their core, you know, what they all have in common, you are now able to connect them all. You are able to help bring others into the point where they can begin making connections beyond what they have without saying a word. Yeah, they tend to know who you are. They tend to see how you are. They tend to see how you're not taking things personally, how you're always somewhat pleasant, how you're never getting into fights, how you're someone they always like to be around, even though they think you're weird, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It just begins to have an effect. Now we
My
can't.
brother gets angry at me because I don't get bored with things.
But does it get us as far, or the other person as far? Usually not. It can. I do it too, Anton. You know, I get off my balance point. We all do. Okay. Well, this went into an interesting direction, a fun direction. Yeah.
It expands. That's the way these things go. It's just it's expanding up as you dive into it. As soon as you through a couple of layers, you're into the big stuff. trying to figure it all out. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Getting into the
After that question, just know if your ears were going off. My ears have been going off for 20 minutes straight. That is really, really bugging me at the moment, man. I was cussing it today for that. I don't understand. It's really buzzing in my ear. Yeah, that's annoying me.
One ear or both?
My right ear continuously it ramped up when I started with Casey in February. That tone has been flying into my ear regular ever since. And we get into these kind of discussions, it takes off, especially into bigger elements. It's toning in. Yeah.
High pitched, low pitched?
Very high pitched. It's actually quite severe. It's very high pitched coming in.
Yeah, we should go ahead and just conclude here then, so you can dive deeper into that, unless there's something anyone else wants to discuss. Do we feel
that was
complete? Good. Yeah, we feel complete.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Good. Excellent. I thank you both for coming.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I feel light. I feel good. Yeah, it always feels good to discuss these things. And I like to talk, as you know.
I never noticed.
All right, boys. I'll see you next week, or maybe at the meditations tomorrow.
Tomorrow, for sure.
Okay. All right.
Probably not me up.